I know that it's been like 3 years since this show ended, but I still have feelings about Cyberverse. It's probably my favorite show in the Transformers franchise in general because it manages to subvert many things that would be expected in Transformers. So, Transformers Cyberverse seems like a kid's show on a service level. It's bright, colorful, and is rated TV YAV. Not to mention, the commercials presented the show as strictly fun and all games. However, when you see the show for yourself, by the way, it's currently free to watch on YouTube, you realize it's fucking dark. Like, fucking dark. With a lot of mind-screwing imagery and a surprising amount of violence in a show designated for children. Sorry. Once you get past the dark elements, this show has really excellent writing, a good chunk of emotional depth to the characters, and this show's sense of humor is just yes tier. Now that more people are starting to cover the show, mostly because of a certain pathetic purple meow meow that I will get to in this video, just wait. I figured that it's the perfect time to explain why this show is yes tier and how it manages to subvert Transformers as a whole. So, buckle up, boys, girls, and non-binary pals. Let's do this. Pingu. Hello, this is Editor Val here. This is the right time to put a spoiler warning for y'all because many of the things in Cyberverse are best experienced blind, and there are two characters that won me over the most with how they subvert their archetypes in Transformers. So once again, there will be spoilers in this video. So go watch the series right now on YouTube and then come back here. So yeah, all right, let's go. I really don't like how Clobber got pushed aside as a main character after the Quintessence arc. Like, you think after all she went through with Hot Rod and the gang and becoming an Autobot at the end, which by the way, the time did not do that arc justice. Come here, John Hasbro, come here. I need to tell you something, come here. Y'all really gotta push the plus-size girl to the side like that? Really? Anyways, my girl deserves better. She deserves better. Moving on. In the 2 times that he appeared, Prowl is basically a plot device where something happened plot-wise because of him. He really only served as the starting point of Shadow Striker's redemption, and let's be real, he got shot in the fucking titties. Just watch.
Prowl!
No!
Prime!
The second half of season 3 is kinda... it's great because of the one-off characters, but regarding characters such as the Insecticons, you can literally remove them and nothing would change. They're literally just there. We never saw those hoes again,
Someone to listen to me. Go on. He's in the missile silo with the Seekers. He's delusional. He thinks he's been chosen. And he's used the Allspark for something terrible. Starscream will destroy us all.
Then we must tell Optimus and Megatron immediately.
Thank you.
I fucking hate Bludgeon so much. Actually, screw John Hasbro for not giving this show more time and a budget to let the crew go nuts. It's really such a shame that things such as the one-off characters like El Woo weren't given enough screen time, and planned things such as Starscream Redemption arc and that multi-universe crossover that couldn't happen because John Hasbro didn't give a proper budget. And speaking of Starscream, that's where the show gets bad. Like, oh my god. As y'all know by now, if you read my post on Tumblr before like the December 6th like deletion thing and my TFA retrospective video, the current thing with Megatron being extremely cruel to Starscream has got to stop. In other versions, you can sense that there's a mutual hatred between each other, like calling at each other equally. However, what makes the Cyberverse versions of these characters, like in terms of their relationship, extremely unpleasant is that Starscream got beaten badly, like for much longer than it needs to be, and suffered a horrible mental breakdown afterwards. Like, he needed help, and Megatron didn't own up to the fact of how much of a piece of shit he was towards him until, like, it was too late. And the thing that gets me the most about this, like, do you know what Megatron said to Starscream after Starscream called him out for his shit? Like, this still pisses me off. I need y'all to see this because... What?
Oh, Megatron, where would I be without the mighty Lord Megatron? I really should thank you for all the pain, the humiliation, the unrelenting cruelty.
You're welcome.
No, this is the part where you beg for my forgiveness.
Why should I? You are Starscream. You will fail. You always have, and you always will.
Do I look like a failure?
Yeah, no, like, no, not today, Satan, not today. I'm gonna move on because the longer I talk about this, the longer I'm gonna be more annoyed. Okay, moving on. Other minor nitpicks are that some of the voice deliveries are a bit stiff, which is thankfully balanced by the show's overall consistent, great voice acting. Some of the humorous moments did not work well for me, and like I said, this show needed more time and a budget to tell the story it wanted to tell. Anyways, enough about me ranting. Let's go move on to the positive aspects of the show, aka the reason why I made this video in the first place. So, let's go. As I mentioned at the start of this video, this show can get really fucking brutal and dark. Not only does it have an extremely high body count, a good chunk of messed up imagery, and body horror in the Quintessence arc, but it's not afraid to cover the true sad reality of the main storyline of Transformers as a whole. Nobody wants to fucking fight anymore. If you pay attention to the dialogue and body language of the characters, you notice how burnt out they all are. They want this thing over and done just so they can get back home. Even Megatron, who is the most stubborn in the cast, is tired. He is burnt out. He wants to go home, but won't end this war because of his own selfishness and pride. In fact, it's mostly stubbornness on both sides that is the reason why this thing carried out for way longer than it needs to be. Like, one question, what the hell was Megatron and fam doing in that 65 million year time gap? Like, the bots were gone in that time frame, so technically they were the winners, but okay, yeah. At the very core of Transformers Cyberverse, the main theme of the show is one word: understanding. The entire war started because neither side wanted to listen to and understand each other in order to reach a common goal. They spent so many years at each other's throats to the point where It's completely normalized that Optimus and Megatron would have an argument during negotiations, based on dialogue in parley.
They are talking of making peace. You must be happy that the fighting will soon end.
Actually, they do this pretty often. Every couple thousand cycles or so. Yeah, and it always goes the same way. Right now, they're starting to argue. A lot.
Even when they're all tired and just wanted to go back home, stubbornness and the inability to see eye to eye with each other is what dragged out this 65 million year conflict for way longer than necessary.
We should have talked like this ages ago, Prime.
So much history between us.
And yet so little trust.
As the Earthlings would say, trust is a two-way street, Megatron.
Most roads on Cybertron are one way.
However, it all changed when the Quintessence arrived, so that wall of distrust and stubbornness had to be broken down in order to reach the new common goal, to liberate Cybertron from the Quintessence. It started when Hot Rod and Soundwave put aside their differences and worked together to achieve that common goal, something their leaders could never do. Because of Megatron's stubbornness and pride in refusing to admit the harsh reality of the war. This all started because of his and Optimus's inability to truly understand each other. Hot Rod and Soundwave broke the cycle by understanding each other, listening to each other to work together. The others broke the cycle by befriending each other because they finally understood each other. As a result, peace between the Autobots and Decepticons has finally been achieved by the show's end. At the end of the day, Transformers Cyberverse is an in-depth deconstruction of the main premise of the entire franchise, with honestly much more care and complexity than even the shows with the most nuance, such as Animated and Beast Wars. And I appreciate that it accomplished what it needed to do.
Negotiations for a peaceful settlement have failed.
Optimus, I have the best mixture of Energon in all of Cybertron, don't I?
Yes, MacAdam. You certainly do.
It took 4,232 failed attempts until I found the perfect mixture. But oh, the 4,233rd time? That made it all worthwhile.
Except for truly evil characters such as the Quintessence, Starscream, Tarn, and John Hasbro, nobody in this show is really a hero or a villain. When you dive into it very closely, these characters are ultimately flawed yet likable people who are forced into this stressful situation that they just wanted to end. It helps that in the episode McAdams, we see how these characters interact with each other and, well, they all seem cordial at best with each other. We saw how these friendships started in this flashback, which made it all the more heartbreaking when Megatron's conflict with Optimus spiraled out of control and it all went horribly wrong. Not only do these characters feel like people you would meet in real life, but they have their own quirks and flaws that aren't over-exaggerated. Hell, even characters such as Shadow Striker and Soundwave have their own enduring qualities that are balanced well with their menacing and rough personalities. We'll get to them later in this video. Character development eventually pays off in the Quintessence arc, where I mentioned earlier that they all got over their differences and started working together, which eventually resulted in the formation of the Peace Treaty. I applaud the Cyberverse crew for managing to work with what they got and creating characters so enduring that you actually care what's going to happen to them. I really can't think of a single main character I dislike in this show. At the end of the day, these characters feel, well, human. It's the other key to why Cyberverse is such a brilliant show. And if you're wondering who's my favorite in this show. Obviously, the man of this hour in this household is Optimus. Clobber is my main girl. I would die for her. She is my favorite Decepticon. Favorite one-off character is El Woo. Of course, y'all know who is the ultimate man in this household. The one who has such a strong hold on me. The one who I will declare as my pathetic meow meow. Motherfucking Tarn BB! One of the main problems I have with many Transformers media is how the female characters are often pushed to the sidelines and either be one, side characters or objects subjected to torture or pain. Like, Animated and Prime are especially guilty of this, which is one of the reasons why Prime did not age very well for me. Like, yeah, nobody wants to see women in pain and nothing else. Like, we should know this by now. Anyways, moving on. While IDW is the one media that manages to break the cycle, Cyberverse is the very first show that openly spat on this issue and destroyed it by giving us likable female characters who are just as badass as the male characters, and they were given a prominent role in the show overall, and I really appreciate that. So let's go talk about it. Windblade is very likable and enduring, with her friendship with Bee being especially so adorable. RC is like one of my main favorites because of just how entertainingly batshit crazy she is. And also, her friendship with Grimlock is very wholesome and enduring, just like Windblade and Bumblebee. Just, oh my god, I could talk about her all day. She's my first Transformers toy for a reason. I just love her. Slipstream is great for her dynamic with Windblade, and by the end of her story, you do genuinely feel bad for her, like she deserves better. Clobber is not only good body representation, but she's also a great character for being one of the main heroes in the Quintessence arc, and her friendship with Hot Rod is pretty wholesome. Shadow Striker is perhaps the most complex and well-written female Decepticon up to this point. She was once a great fighter enlisted by Megatron during the war, presumably to carry out the more stealthier missions. Then one day she managed to capture Optimus, and all things were about to go according to plan. Bumblebee then showed up to save the day, and a shot from Bee's blaster hits the Energon, and she unfortunately got caught in the explosion. This resulted in her being stitched together by Shockwave out of necessity with bits of her former Seeker pals. Something she really didn't ask for. I really like how Shadow Striker's backstory plays a role in her current personality up until her redemption arc in the last 2 seasons. While it doesn't excuse her actions, you do understand why she is the way she is. Like, this lady is stitched with fucking corpses. She felt pain from the electrical mismatched work inside. She is in chronic pain both physically and mentally. Her vendetta against Bee is the one thing on her mind that she thought would make her whole. However, as the saying goes, while seeking revenge, dig 2 graves, one for yourself. In the present day, even after 65 million years, she still holds a grudge against Bee. We see her rush in the moment, the chance to achieve what she thought was the outcome that will make her feel whole again. Eventually, the Autobots woke up and all things went as planned in terms of the main plot of Transformers. A few skips to Season 3 and the evil Squidwards has arrived on Cybertron to make having too many universes everybody else's problems. While she is in the background for this arc, it doesn't mean that the seeds for her redemption should be ignored, as you saw in the clip like 2 sections ago. At first, she's not a happy trooper about B being partnered with her for the training simulation. However, by the end, they put aside their differences and work together with the others in defeating the evil Squiggles. It's rather nice that we see Shadow Striker in a state of sort of joy that is not her being a chaotic gremlin with the gay bestie Soundwave. From there, she cooperates 100% with everyone in saving the day. After she came back from dimension hopping and asked for half of the planet in the divorce, we assumed that she would blindly follow him. However, to the audience's surprise, she actually rescued Windblade after the Battle of the Titans. Out of empathy for what Windblade had gone through, which is essentially a symbolic version of what she went through, out of hidden empathy for Bumblebee trying to find his friend. From there, we see her on this redemption arc alongside Soundwave as they try to figure out what the heck is going on with Megatron. I'll stop here since they're both key players in the brilliance of the Perfect Decepticon section. We'll get there when we get there. Overall, Shadow Striker is an excellent example that it is possible to write a well-written female Decepticon. For that, I really hope that she shows up in future Transformers media. She earned it. In conclusion, Cyberverse did a great job with this female cast. Yes, both women's rights and women's wrongs. Not gonna lie, before Cyberverse, Optimus had been in a weird characterization in the 2000s, which is arguably started by the first Bayverse movie. I'm not very fond of this characterization, which I call the Mr. Stoic and Serious characterization. Optimus is at his most interesting when he is a flawed individual who is not 100% perfect most of the time. Think of G1 Optimus, Optimus Primal, and Optimus in the last 2 Bayverse movies. As I mentioned back in my TFA retrospective video, the reason why TFA Optimus is my favorite Optimus in general is because he is the underdog, the everyman, the societal reject. This is the antithesis of Optimus Prime, something that the Mr. Stoic and Serious characterization has set back significantly wrong. Prime is especially guilty of doing this to a T, to the point where Optimus in that show doesn't feel like an actual person. He's basically both a deus ex machina and someone only meant for the other characters to look up to. It's such a shame because time and time again has proven that you can give a stoic character a personality. Stoicness doesn't justify blindness in this household. Now, if y'all are from TikTok, stop asking me where TFP Optimus would be at in my TFA Optimus TikToks. Okay, moving on. I don't like him. In this show, Optimus is given an angle that hasn't been explored since Transformers Animated. Who is he as a person, not just as a Prime? Well, he's socially awkward yet lovably nice guy. This guy basically represents the introverts. He's so used to being the role of the leader like everybody else expected him to be, that he actually doesn't know what to do when the vibes are chill. Let me list down 3 episodes that perfectly display this vulnerability to this Optimus.
Do you know where we are, Bumblebee? This was a statue of the Great Prima. And that is where the Senate used to meet. We stand in what was once the Grand Imperium. So much of our world has been destroyed. Cybertron is dying. I fear Windblade was right. I never should have sent the Allspark away from Cybertron. I felt there was no choice. But I was wrong. We must get the Allspark back, Bumblebee. There is still time to set things right.
As we see here, we see Optimus let down his guard and quietly confesses his mistake as Optimus the person. It's actually both a sad and touching moment because this is perhaps the first time in like a while, presumably, where Optimus can let down his like image, like the Prime image, and talk to B, who's implied to be one of the few people that Optimus can confide in. It's refreshing to see him in the state, as it's the first sign that this Optimus is going to be different from like the stoic and serious characterization in the 2010s.
Optimus, we have a C-class emergency. Hangar 7, hurry! It's awful!
I am on my way, Bumblebee. Windblade? Grimlock? Hotlock? Oh, this cannot be good.
Surprise!
Speech!
This episode permanently cements my love for this Optimus, as it explores one concept. What does Optimus do when there's a period of relaxation? We see him being incredibly introverted and not used to being as like treated as an equal in the moment instead of being the big guy most of the time. It's a perfectly relatable moment as an autistic person who really doesn't know how to interact in a social setting. Just like me when I feel overwhelmed, Optimus takes a moment to get away from the overwhelming environment and takes a time to cool down. I assume that had it not been for Starscream being a gremlin, he would have gone back to the party on his own terms. It's a great way to teach the kids like that sometimes it's okay to be an introvert. It's okay to remove yourself from a social situation if it gets too much, and you can come back at a later time when you feel like it. It's also refreshing to see a male character like Optimus express these emotions instead of like keeping them in and letting it get to him. Like, A+ to the writers for that. So after saving the day, he sees everyone in a sad mood, and what does he do? He dances. Oh my freaking god, I fucking love you, my guy. Like, this is so wholesome. This is what an Optimus Prime should be. A lovable and awkward dad who is just a total sweetheart. Like, it's my favorite episode of Cyberverse in general for the great death it gave to Optimus, and being the birthplace of the iconic Optimus dancing meme that is now a staple of my TikTok. Like, yeah, check out this episode like in the provided link below. I promise you won't regret it. This is gonna be like shorter than the previous two like points I brought up. However, this is still important to like the main topic of this section is because as someone who does experience flashbacks to rather unfortunate moments in my life upon seeing a memory of something present in that moment, this scene hits too close to home. To see him in a state of fear caused by the beings created by an egomaniac who attempted to mutilate him in a selfish quest for ultimate power, like, that shit is haunting. Like, yeah, like, to see the Optimus Prime like that vulnerable and scared, like, it's heartbreaking to watch, but also in a weird way, like, it kind of brings like a bit of catharsis for me because he is like me. Like it's one of the main points like I want to like emphasize on this Optimus. Like, he is relatable, and that's what seals the deal for me as like him being my favorite Optimus. Transformers Cyberverse not only breathes necessary life into the franchise after the disappointing results of Rid 2015, but It fixed one of the most crucial characters in a way that is unique and distinct. It not only gave Optimus a personality, but it allowed him to feel raw emotions such as joy, anger, sadness, and fear. He's allowed to be goofy like the rest of our lovable himbos and lesbians. He's allowed to express vulnerable feelings that teaches how important said feelings are, and he's allowed to form meaningful relationships with his pretty much found family. At the end of the day, Cyberverse manages to accomplish a fundamental change. It humanizes and brings life to Optimus. It's pretty amazing that this show manages to acquire such a passionate LGBTQ plus fan base, perhaps 2 years after this show ended. So to emphasize the point of this section, I'm gonna go read my tweets about Cyberverse that I did for Pride Month. The link to the originals will be in the description. A core theme of the show is how love, both implied romantic and platonic love, persevere over conflict. It not only saved their planet, but saved their broken relationships with each other. Speaking of romantic love, this show explores the LGBTQ plus subtext to Optimus and Megatron's relationship. There is something between them, and the show doesn't deny it through interactions such as the two roads are one conversation in Parley. There's also LGBTQ plus subtext to relationships such as Wheeljack and Shockwave, Slipstream and Windblade, and the most popular ship in the fandom, Soundwave and Hot Rod.
You're gonna give me that helm?
It's useless, Autobot. You have lost! You will pay for this.
We also got a canon LGBTQ plus character in the form of Acid Storm, who is canonically gender fluid. Their mode originally written off as an animation error, the crew has since confirmed that Acid Storm changing forms is just something they like to do. Thankfully, in spite of their limited screen time, Acid Storm is not treated differently from the other Decepticons. As a gender-fluid fan, I adore Acid Storm. I wish that they survived in Season 2. By the way, that sentence is still true.
I don't need your help. Sorry, sir. Understood.
It also helps that both May Cat, a writer for the show, and RC's voice actor, Jamie Lamchick, are queer. Additionally, Hot Rod's voice actor, Travis Arts, expressed support for the Sound Rod ship on his social media. Later down in 2022, Soundwave's voice actor, Mark Swim, eventually came out as bi. Cyberverse is indeed the show of the gays. This is not the first time LGBTQ plus people are involved in a Transformers show. Examples include Susan Blue, the voice of G1RC, Parvish China, the voice of Blades and Rescue Bots, and Erica Lindbeck, the voice of Windblade in Season 3 of Robots in Disguise 2015. Back to Cyberverse, the LGBTQ plus subtext is able to be there without feeling like queer baiting. With how Transformers shows before and now are too afraid to explore LGBTQ plus topics outside of the comics, I'm glad that TFC exists. By the way, this was before Earthspark. In conclusion, Transformers Cyberverse is a show for the TF gays, and it's proud of being the show for the TF gays. I hope that future Transformers shows follow in Cyberverse's steps in presenting LGBTQ plus representation and themes explicitly. Considering how Hasbro usually adhere to the Christian moms and TF dude bros, I'm glad that Cyberverse can get away with what it can show on TV, without executive interference. With this and the IDW comics, I'm thankful that young LGBTQ plus fans now have media and characters they can look up to and feel represented by. Small steps can go a long way, but I'm optimistic about more LGBTQ plus representation in Transformers. In order to properly talk about the finale, let's go focus on two characters that are key to the brilliance of the series finale, Shadow Striker and Soundwave. Regarding them specifically, they're arguably the main characters of the finale. They both play a key role that signifies them both as the perfect Decepticon respectively. With Shadow Striker, we see her fully committed to upholding the peace treaty, but still has her rough tsundere personality. Same theme for Soundwave as well. It's a realistic progression of both of their redemption arcs since they still needed time to fully trust their former enemies. Then Tarn shows up and the growing trust is put to the test as everybody has to figure out on how to stop him. Shadow Striker was forced into the role of executioner by being tasked by Tarn in executing B and El Wubu. However, in one final confirmation that her redemption arc is here to stay, she helps them escape at the cost of her own capture. And then, as a cherry on top of everything, when the odds are stacked against the Autobots, when the other Decepticons came forward at the order of Tarn, it was her who came from the crowd and delivered perhaps what's the best scene in Cyberverse.
Decepticons attack? Who are you to tell us what to do? I've talked with my fellow Decepticons, and we all agree. The treaty between us and the Autobots stands. Get off our planet, Tarn.
She did what Megatron couldn't do a long time ago. Actually talk to her fellow Decepticons and get them to uphold the peace between them and the other side. She made it clear to Tarn that the treaty will be upheld. The cycle of violence, death, and sorrow that is the Great War will never ever be repeated. This right here is what made her the perfect Decepticon. Speaking of the other half of the perfect Decepticon, let's focus on Soundwave now. At first, he seems like the usual Soundwave. He's Megatron's right-hand man. He's sticking by his leader's side even when the odds are firmly against them as usual. The only difference is that he's a sardonic gremlin who'll throw a can while blasting F the police on full blast just to troll you. However, something interesting happens. When he got freed accidentally while the main band of misfits tried to free everyone in Season 3, he tried to keep up his sardonic gremlin shtick. He tried to take control from Hot Rod, belittle him for being the one in charge, and even tried to send Clobber to kill him. However, with a punch to the face, with character development, during one nasty argument between the two, it resulted in Soundwave becoming more cooperative and willing to let Hot Rod vibe. From there, a friendship/romance occurred and they became better individuals by the end. We even see a flashback to when Soundwave met his beloved chicken Laserbeak. By the end of the Quintessence arc, Soundwave chose to step up as the hero, and he and everyone saved the day. At first, you expect Soundwave to resign to his role as Megatron's right-hand bot, quiet and submissive. But he is rightfully suspicious of what old Buckethead is doing, and he and the bestie and his pet chicken got to figure out what the heck is going on, and you gotta help us, lads. From this alone, he broke the mold of what a Soundwave is, not blindly following Megatron. After the entire ordeal with the other one, he and Shadow Striker decide to declare a treaty with the Autobots. As mentioned in Shadow Striker sections here, both her and Soundwave are fully committed to upholding the peace treaty. However, he's still not fully trusting of his former enemies like his lesbian bestie. He's still a gremlin who will throw hands. After all, Rome wasn't built in a day. When Tarn showed up, the purple Meow Meow kept Soundwave as his right-hand man while he attempted to take over the planet. During this ordeal, as Shadow Striker pointed it out, Soundwave is oddly obedient to Tarn of all people. After all that, he's gonna throw away his character development like that? Like, what the heck? But then, it hits me. It's something that confirms that the writers aren't gonna take the cheap route, to my relief. Upon many rewatches of the finale, I noticed a key detail. Pay attention closely to Soundwave and Shadow Striker in this scene.
Agreed.
How easily you obey. Like a good pet.
I do what is necessary. I served Tarn as I served Shockwave before him.
Yes. You were always one to bow down to others.
He is playing the role of Tarn's obedient servant in order to buy the others time to form a plan and defeat this purple menace. He just needed to let Shadow Striker be aware of his plan through that one line of dialogue. Soon the others come in to save the day and a fight ensues. Soon, when all hope seems lost and Tarn was about to execute Optimus, Hot Rod comes in fast as fuck boy style and did a well-meaning but misguidedly handled attempt to snatch the Cortex helm from Tarn. The moment he sees Hot Rod suffer a rather brutal beatdown, Soundwave decides that when push comes to shove, it's time to be a bad bitch. He unleashed all his wrath and fury at Tarn, the one who tried to kill his boyfriend / close friend, the one who is the reason why Soundwave is redeemed in the first place. It then all culminates in one intense moment where Soundwave took the Cortex helm and freed all the perfect Decepticons from Tarn's control, allowing them the opportunity to decide their own morality and choices. The ultimate act of mercy, and then, with one final Soundwave, he unleashed hell on Tarn that saved everyone and their planet. To say I was in shock and heartbreak when Soundwave died would be the understatement of my entire life as a Transformers fan. His death left me feeling so many emotions: anger, shock, and ultimately sadness. He did it all out of proving a point to Tarn that all sentient beings deserve freedom, and out of love he felt for Hot Rod, Shadow Striker, and everyone else he ever cared for. He did a selfless act of mercy and love, something Megatron couldn't do a long time ago. This right here is what made him the perfect Decepticon.
Soundwave wouldn't want to hear me saying nice things about him, so one time Soundwave sound blasted me so hard, the flames came right off my grill. And Clobber, remember how Soundwave ordered you to destroy me, and you said yes?
Yes!
Hey, Windblade, remember when Soundwave held you prisoner and made you listen to that awful dubstep compilation for Astro Cycles? What a jerk. Soundwave was truly an evil Decepticon, but Soundwave turned out to be more than that. He became a friend to me, and he was a hero to us all.
In my humble opinion, Transformers Cyberverse is indeed the best Transformers show so far. It's a beautiful love letter to what makes Transformers such a great hyperfixation for me in the first place. The cast and crew put their entire hearts and energy in delivering the best they could, and by God, it fucking pays off. Please check out the show if you hadn't had the chance. Even if you don't feel like this is the best in Transformers overall, that's okay. For as long as I live, Transformers Cyberverse is among my top 4 favorite Transformers show. I will always go back to whenever I need something to cheer me up. For that, I will never stop adoring this show for being more than meets the eye.
Nice one, happy hug!
Watch out, folks! Here we come!